George, everybody who saw you play knew you could finger roll, right?
Yeah, I could do that, man, but I couldn't do it well enough to beat them Bullets, man. So, man, I tell you, man, what a great time, man, to play basketball, man, back in the 70s and stuff, man, and play against a great team like Elvin Hayes and them guys, man. So, great memories.
Yeah, the first year you played them in the first round, you lost in 6, and the Bullets, nobody thought that would happen. I think they won 44 games that year, and they went on to win the championship. As defending champions, though, you played them in 1979, and you took them to 7, and in Game 7, did you have 42 points, right? 42 points in Game 7?
Oh, well, it looked like I needed more than 42 to beat them, man, because they went on and beat us again to, I think, get into the finals again. So
yeah. Well, but
they was a hard team to beat.
They were, but you may remember this, that Doug Moe, your coach, after the game, got fined because he said the referees, Vanek and Mahalik, took it away. There were some questionable calls in that game. Do you recall?
Well, think about it, too, man. The lights went out for 12 minutes, so... it was unfortunate, man, but hey, things happen, man, and we just keep moving forward.
Absolutely, and George was a guy who could score in many ways. He didn't have one signature move, and with all the points that you scored and won a couple of scoring titles, no 3-point shot for most of your career, right? I mean, it was only the last 5 years or so that they had the 3-point shot. Is that a shot that you think you could have developed if you really worked on it?
Well, I mean, you think about it. I mean, I could shoot, but I was a percentage shooter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so I like shooting where I was real sure I could make it. So that was a big part of my game, where I shot the mid-range jump shot and I was able to go to the basket, using both hands. So, the 3-point shot, even today, man, it's a low percentage shot, but it's one that can be real effective if, and really determine the outcome of a game. So I still think it brings some excitement to the game even today.
We're talking to George Gervin, his new autobiography, Ice, Why I Was Born to Score. It's an incredible story of someone who was under the basketball radar until his senior year of high school. You had a growth spurt. How tall were you as a junior, George, and how tall did you get as a senior in high school?
Well, man, as a freshman, I was 5'9", man. I was 5'9" as a freshman, and then as a sophomore, I jumped up to about 6'5", and then, I ended up about 6'7", 6'8" when I got out of there, man. So I just don't know how I had that growth spurt, but it was sure appreciated, as far as what I wanted to do is play basketball, but, living the way we did with my beautiful mom and,
mm-hmm.
And being poor at that time, I went to the Goodwill a lot, we couldn't afford new clothes, man, because I outgrew the ones that I had.
Yeah, I can imagine, sure. And with that growth spurt, you averaged over 30 points a game as a senior in high school in Detroit, and initially signed with Jerry Tarkanian, who was then at Long Beach State. Were you prepared to go across the country and do that? How did that work out for you?
That was kind of scary for me. I'd never been anywhere before, coming up out of the inner city of Detroit and,
right.
Going out to California, man. I thought I was going to another country, man. And, it was unfortunate, man, because it was a great program. And Tark really felt with me and what he had with the other guys, George Trapp and a few other guys, man, Ed Ratcliffe, man, that we could beat the UCLA team back in that time. But, for me, it's just something that I just missed home, man, and I just came back home, and then that's when I enrolled in Eastern Michigan.
Yeah, and this is another really incredible part of the story. George goes to Eastern Michigan. At the time, freshmen were ineligible to play varsity. So varsity season as a sophomore, played great, but there was a fight, right, at the end of the season, a fight which got you kicked off the team.
Man.
Tell us about that.
Wow, man. Jay Bacola, man. I mean, and really, man, that was one of the reasons that I I did a documentary and a book, man, because it changed my life, man. You know, I lost my cool. I mean, I was in a situation where I felt that they was cheating and, you know, and they was beating on me. And, man, you know, I really lost my cool, man, and I hit Jay Bacola, man, and knocked him out. And the scary part about it, I really felt I killed him. And it changed my life, man. I mean, so I really, you know, got to the understanding, man, how important it is, man, to think before you react. You know how many people in jail, man, or then hurt somebody, man, because they react emotionally without thinking? You know, so it was a big lesson for me, man, is that, man, you got to think before you react, man. Really regret it, you know, in your life, man, and it could take your freedom away.
Yeah, no, and it did. As you were kicked out of school. Now, did you have offers to go other places? Could you have gone to another school at that point?
I probably could, but I was so distraught, man, that Eastern Michigan, you know, at that time they said that I'm done for this year, and I may not could play next year. So to have that may not there, it kind of discouraged me. So I withdrew from school and I started playing semi-pro ball, and that's where my pro career really started.
Yeah, and this is the days of the ABA and the NBA. We're still two leagues. They're still at war. They're giving big money to stars to come to the other league, and some teams are teetering on, you know, whether or not they can stay alive financially. A scout from the Virginia Squires saw you play, right? Saw you play in the was it the Eastern League or the Continental League?
Continental League. We played Continental League, and I was averaging about 35. And Johnny Red Kerr, who was a friend of the owner,
Earl Foreman.
Yep. And Bianchi. You know, so Johnny Red Kerr said, man, y'all ought to see this kid, Gervin. And they flew me in, had me shoot around, and I signed a contract before I left. So I'm probably one of the only guys in the history of basketball that shot for his contract.
Well, you could shoot it, George, so you deserve that. And you're joining a Virginia Squires team. Now, this is fascinating where you are at the beginning of your career and who you play with at the end of your career. But you join a Virginia Squires team who had a player who was becoming known, but they didn't have many games on television, and it was more like stories were passed along, seeing that he could do these incredible things. Julius Erving. I'm sure you had not seen Julius Erving play until you joined the team. What was your impression the first time you played with Julius?
Mr. ABA, that's what I called him, man. He was that popular, you know, in the league. He was that dominant in the league, and now I'm a teammate of his, man. It was just fascinating for me. And the kind of guy he was, man, he was a very passionate, talented man, and you know, that's hard to find even today, man. Somebody to be that passionate, man, and care about somebody else, man. So Doc kind of took me under his wing. You know, I mean, I never get it at the practice and stuff, man. I was getting ready to leave, and he used to always say, "Hey, Rook, where you going?" I said, "Well, I'm going to shower up, get out of here." He used to say, "Oh no, man, me and you ain't done." and me and him used to play one-on-one at the practice, man, for a lot of the practice. But I owe a lot to Doc, man, because he took the time with me. He helped build up my confidence and my self-esteem, and it helped me get ready, man, to play in that league, man. So even today, if I see Doc, what he'll say, "Hey, Rook," and I'll smile like I'm still that little young kid, man.
Wow, because he was considered to be the best in that league, as you say, and also, you know, I've heard that he did things in the ABA that we never saw him do in the NBA. It was a more free-flowing kind of a game. He was able to do more things. Is that the way you felt as well?
Well, I mean, you know, one thing he told me is when he was with Philly, you know, and they won one. Mm-hmm. You know, the coach told him, "Hey, Doc, you know, if we gonna win, you gotta make a little bit more kind of a sacrifice to play more with the guys in order to, you know, get a championship." and it happened. I mean, so yeah, it took away of his flashiness. I mean, some, because some of the things that he was able to do, but yet he was able to make that adjustment to get a championship, man. So that's pretty big on his part, man. But he always been an amazing guy.
Talking to George Gervin, his new book is Ice, Why I Was Born to Score, which he wrote with Scoop Jackson, and we're talking about the ABA days. Now, you mentioned the financial problems of the league and the financial problems of the Squires. They had to sell Julius, and they had to sell you. They sold you in 1974 to the San Antonio Spurs. What was your feel then at that point when you're leaving, a place that you'd at least gotten a little bit comfortable in to go to San Antonio in 74?
I mean, for me, coming from Detroit, so I'm coming from the inner city, so I'm around, mostly black folks. And then I go to Virginia, and I'm around a lot of black folks, so I'm real comfortable being around Hampton Institute, Norfolk State. So and I'm a kid. I'm 19 years old. And then you trade me and you sell me to San Antonio. I don't know nothing about San Antonio but the Alamo. And it's a big Hispanic, area. So it was a little difficult for me at first. But again, that was my inability to, not being able to see, other parts of the country. So, but once I got here, man, I ain't never left. I'm still in San Antonio, so it was one of the most beautiful places in the world for me.
Absolutely. I lived there a couple of years myself and really enjoyed it. But you also joined some real talent. You had Larry Keenan on that team, Billy Paultz, James Silas, who was a great point guard. You guys had a squad. I mean, and a lot of times when you have a merger situation, you don't really know what you're getting when you get in the NBA. Once the merger happens in 1976, were you surprised how good you were in comparison to the NBA teams?
No, we wasn't surprised at all, and nor were the NBA guys that we played against, because we played against them in the summertime. So they knew that we were very talented. It was really being able to have a chance to play in front of an NBA audience. And, and for us, we had something to prove. So when we merged in 76, in 77, 78, All-Star game, you could look it up, man. We probably had 8 or 9 ABA guys in the All-Star game. So we just needed the opportunity, man. And the merger, for me, really put the NBA on a path to be where they are today, man. It really gave them a good, solid foundation, when they merged with the ABA. And look at us now, man. We global.
No question. And to tell you what kind of a score George was, this is an incredible story that happened at the end of the 77-78 season. You were neck and neck with David Thompson for the scoring title. And I think, am I right that Thompson played his game first on that last game of the season? Is that right? Okay, so Thompson puts up 73 points in an afternoon game, and you're playing at night. And how many did you need to have to get ahead of him? How many points?
Yeah, I needed 59.
Yeah. And you got?
I needed 59. I ended up getting 63 in 33 minutes.
63 and 33 points in one quarter, right?
Yeah, I got 33 points. Thompson broke Wilt Chamberlain's record that Wilt had for I don't know how many years. And he got 32, and then I got 33 that night and broke his record. So it was an amazing night for me, and I couldn't have did it without a great relationship with my teammates. So I always credit them with me being able to win my first scoring title, because without them, I couldn't have done it.
Yeah, it was great fun, and the relationship that you guys had with the fans. It was a small arena, and you had the baseline bums who were really tough on the other team. What was that environment like playing in San Antonio in the 70s?
It was unbelievable, man. The baseline bums was a big part. We call them our sixth man on the floor. Obviously they wasn't on the floor, but, man, the enthusiasm, man, and the theatrics and stuff, man, that they perform, man, during the game, it was just unbelievable, man. I remember one time Larry Brown came in. He was coaching, I think, Denver, and he said, the only thing I like about San Antonio is the guacamole. So when he came, and the baseline bombs was over his locker room. That's where they seats was.
Right, yeah.
So, halftime when Larry Brown went into the game, they poured guacamole soup all over.
Oh my God! I never heard that. I never heard that story. Wow, yeah.
That's how special baseline bombs was, man.
That's crazy. But you have a great career in San Antonio. You can't quite get to the finals, and then in your last year, you're traded to the Chicago Bulls. Did you want to leave at that time, or how did that parting happen?
It didn't work out, man. Cotton Fitzsimmons came in, and Cotton had a different idea of how he wanted to play me. He wanted me pretty much to come off the bench, and I tell that story in the book. How sometimes you got to make changes and stuff, and you ask yourself, are you really ready? And I wasn't ready, so they didn't have a choice but to trade me. That's a big lesson for me also and stuff, man, is that, I could have probably been a real good six-man, but, I wasn't thinking right. And, when you don't think right, man, you make bad choices and stuff, man. And that was one of my bad choices. But I enjoy playing with Mike. I mean, to be able to see Mike, because that was his second year, so to be able to, play with him for a little while, and Mike got hurt, so Mike couldn't play for 35 games and stuff, so I took over the starting role, so he got a chance to see me, So I started my career with Dr. J, and I finished it with Michael Jordan, man. For me, man, that was a good career as far as being able to play with two of the best to ever do it.
No question. And I was going to follow up on that. Were there similarities? Because they were similar ages when you played with them. Both of them are in their early 20s. I know that Michael was a different kind of player and a different kind of scorer, but, can you compare and contrast, kind of playing with them at the beginning and at the end?
Well, Doc, looked taller than Mike, and I think Doc was a little flashier, at that age. Mike was learning the game, I think. Mike didn't really have a real good jump shot at that time, but he was a great scorer, and as time went by, I don't think either one of them was great shooters. I felt both of them was great scorers.
Right.
Where they can get to the hole, they can dunk on you, they were very athletic and stuff. I think that's the similarities that I saw with both of them and stuff, man. But both of them was great, man, and it was good to play with both of them.
No question. So if you had to pick who's the greatest scorer, and you can include yourself in it, you won scoring titles like Michael did. Maybe you might not be considered the greatest player ever, but the greatest scorer. Would you put yourself at the top?
No, I would never put myself at the top. I would say Mike would be one of them.
Yeah.
Obviously Wilt,
Right.
Kareem. I mean, but I would put myself in that category,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't say I was the best. I would let somebody else say it. That would be good enough for me, man. I really enjoyed my career. I played the best that I could while I had the chance, and I'll let somebody else determine who was the best.
Okay, and look, I saw your career as a fan of the Washington Bullets, but I also saw you in San Antonio. You gave everybody great thrills, and if you didn't get a chance to see George Gervin play, look it up on YouTube, because as we started, you could finger roll and you could score, man. You were something to watch. Great to talk to you. The book is Ice, Why I Was Born to Score. It's written with Scoop Jackson, and it's available Amazon, anywhere you find books. Great to talk to you, George. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Hey, man, I really appreciate you. Thanks for the opportunity.